All right, folks, we're about ready to get things started here. We'll do this in just a quick moment. Going to share this to a couple quick pages, and away we will go. So hang in with me. Getting ready for Beach Week Day 3. We've been having so much fun with this over the past several weeks, and now today talking about rip currents, something else that we have to be very, very mindful of here along the coast. So hopefully you have an interest in that. We'll get to it here in just a moment. And I believe we are pretty much ready to go. So let's go ahead and reveal. I see Peyton is in there already. Rochelle in as well. We're going to be talking about some more fun beach things tomorrow and Friday. But today, as we continue Beach Week, we are going to talk about rip currents and what kind of a threat they pose. And it's one of those things where if you don't panic, you can manage and deal with these rip currents and be okay. But there are a lot of people that get into serious trouble, and unfortunately some people die because they panic in these rip currents and they get into a lot of trouble. So hey, want to give a quick shout out here. I am wearing black and gold today. I've got on a Mizzou tie. We did a special couple of social things that we're posting through the Alumni Association for our graduates. But to everybody that is graduating, no matter what university or high school you're going to, if you are a graduate of 2020, we love you and we appreciate your efforts. We know it has been an incredibly bizarre end of your academic career, whether that's high school or college. It's been tough, but that's why I'm wearing the black and gold today. A little shout out to the University of Missouri, M-I-Z-Z-O-U. All right, we're going to talk about rip currents right now. So what is a rip current? You might hear us talk about rip currents or rip tides. All right, what we talk about with rip current is basically it's a strong, narrow current that flows outward away from the beach through the surf zone. And a couple things with rip currents. If you've got a body of water, like even a large lake, you think about like Lake Michigan or Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, the Great Lakes, for instance, or some of these kind of medium-sized lakes. If you don't have waves lapping up on the beaches, you know, if you just have like little swells or whatever, you're not going to have much of an issue. You need to have waves crashing onto a beach before you really are concerned with rip currents. All right, they occur in these areas, and we're going to talk about the things that really determine, you know, what drives these rip currents, what makes these narrow little channels of water flowing away from the beach out to the sea or out to the open water. All right, what do you think? Rip currents are largely determined by what? What do you think it is? Do you think it's water temperature? Do you think it's the way the beach is orientated, like north, you know, if it's a north-south beach or an east-west beach? Do you think that determines maybe whether you get more rip currents or not? Do you think it's about the topography of the beach, or do you think it's about the salinity of the water? Okay, those things, those are your four guesses. We're kind of getting things started here. I want you to start thinking straight out of the box on this one. So let's see how some of you guys are going. I'm seeing some C's, going with topography. You guys are biting on that one. All right, Alan Hunt in the group this morning, giving a shout out to Rochelle. Let's see. You know, I haven't heard Rochelle or Peyton take a guess on this. I'm seeing everybody else guess, but I think our meteorologist may want to take a stab at this as well. See what you guys think. Tammy's going with A, thinking water temperatures. Melanie's going with topography. Cheryl Moeller checking in from St. Louis, Missouri, going with water temperature. A, well, she should have talked to her boy about this, because I would have told her the answer is C, beach topography. What are we talking about? Well, you think about how the beach is set up, okay, and we've got waves coming in. It doesn't matter whether the water's really warm or cold. It doesn't matter how salty the water is, okay, or whether the beach opens up to the south or to the east or west or whatever. You think about this, it's about how the beach is set up, okay? You can have either a rocky bottom or a sandy bottom. Doesn't really matter. But if you've got areas, maybe you've got a sandbar out there just offshore, or you have some dunes, or you have some areas where the waves break and those waves funnel into kind of a lower area along the beach, that water collects there and comes back out. Maybe there's a pier or a reef out there. Anything that restricts the natural flow of water and focus it or channels it into those narrower areas, that's what's going to lead to the development of these rip currents. Can be very dangerous. Again, a fast flowing body of water going out 5 miles per hour or greater than that. You know, swimmers, you can't swim in against it a lot of times. You'll just wear yourself out. And that's where people get into trouble. So it really comes down to the topography. Now, you think about these things, and they can be really wide. Some areas could be up over 100 feet or so, 150 feet. It's not unheard of to have a large channel of rip current going out. But most of these things are less than 30 feet in width, so they're fairly narrow. And you think about that, I mean, you don't want to be caught up in this big swell of water going back out, you know, pulling you back out into the ocean. You're thinking, oh my gosh, I can't help it, I'm going out. No, but if you keep in mind, hey, I only have to swim typically 15 feet one way or another versus swimming back against it and wearing myself out. If I just have to go out 15 feet either side, you can do that. And then that rip current doesn't exist. It's much lighter and you can just kind of swim back in. So we really want to focus on this. According to the U.S. Life Saving Association, what percentage of rescues are related to rip currents? I thought this was really interesting as well. Do you think 25% of those beach rescues are related to rip currents, 40%, 65%, or 80% of rescues are related to rip currents? What do you think? Let's go ahead and give you another chance to guess on these. Again, just get you thinking about it. We'd say it's a pretty serious issue, but how serious? What do you guys think on that? I'll give you a quick second. I'll take a sip of coffee and see what you guys come up with. All right, Tammy Steak and B going 40%. Isabel going big. She goes D. Boom. RJ's going with B. Teresa C. got Don Sipple going C. You know, Don spends a lot of time there around the Elizabeth River over at Nauticus, so he knows a lot about this stuff. Cheryl going D with the big one, going 80%. Elizabeth B. We're getting a lot of that. All right, let's take a look. The correct answer is D. 80% by that organization. They're estimating about 80% of the rescues come from people getting caught up in rip currents, fatiguing, panicking, lots of trouble when you get caught up in this. So it's really important you know what to do. So we have our little swimmer out here, and you have the beach scene, and you've got your your lifeguard stand. Yeah, you got Mitch Buchanan out there and Pamela Anderson. For those of you old enough to remember Baywatch, slow motion running along the beach. It's a good look. I do the same thing whenever I take off the shirt at the beach, slow motion. All right, it's because I don't run fast. All right, so we've got our swimmer out there, and he gets caught up in this developed rip current. And the thing that we want to say is don't panic, okay? Relax. If you can, float. Just float out there. Don't fight it, and do not try to swim directly to shore. Remember, swim out to the side. You'll get out of that rip current, and you'll be able to get away from that pull out, and you'll easily be able to swim back in. So you can swim out and then at an angle away from the current, and then eventually you'll be able to swim parallel and in and get in safely. Most important thing, do not try to come back in against it. That's where people really get in trouble. All right. As far as the lifeguards go, they're doing some things. They're constantly monitoring the situation out there. And we're going to talk about a couple other hazards that you may see some flags in use for. But you see this high surf advisory, all right, issued when wave action presents a threat to life and or property within the surf zone. So you've got these pounding waves. Sometimes we have high surf advisories. A lot of times when we get a prolonged onshore flow with winds, or you get an area of low pressure really strong off the coast, obviously preceding some of the tropical systems that develop, we get these massive waves coming in. Before there's even tropical storm watches or warnings, we may have high surf advisories going up. So again, that's issued when wave action presents a threat to life and or property within the surf zone. All right, we also have high surf warnings, and this is issued when wave action presents an enhanced threat. So it's pretty definite that if, you know, the waves are breaking the way they're developing, the way it looks, that there's this enhanced threat to life or property within the surf zone. You get these pounding waves. They're much larger. Here in Virginia Beach, we've had waves, 8 to 12 feet near shore. Those are dangerous pounding waves, and we get that high surf warning. The other thing, when you get these pounding waves, you get some beach erosion, and that creates a whole nother set of issues. All right, talked about the flags. You saw red flags for the dangerous surf conditions. I want to know, and this is a little random, but we're going to talk a little bit about the flag system here. What color flag is flown when dangerous marine life is in the water? Ever think about that? When we talk about dangerous marine life, everybody thinks instantly like, what, sharks, right? Or maybe stingrays or something like that, okay? There are other marine life that we do have more frequently that can be dangerous as well. What about jellyfish? There's a whole bunch of jellyfish that are around in the surf zone. They're going to fly that colored flag as well. So is it red, blue, purple, or yellow? Any guesses on this? This is one that I didn't really know. I had to think about this one a little bit as well. So let's see what you guys come up with there. And hopefully you guys are still in. My feed here just froze up a little bit. Let's see. All right, now I'm getting your answers. Okay, so we've got some folks coming in. Take your guess. Red, blue, purple, or yellow? What do you think? Give me your guesses. And I'm going to reveal the correct answer is purple. Purple for dangerous marine life. So let's run through our beach warning flags as they relate. Red flag, no swimming, use extreme caution, serious hazards in the water. Those red flags go up when we've got those really dangerous rip currents or when there's high surf, the advisories and the warnings. You see that. All right, when there are double red flags, that means water is closed to swimming. It's too dangerous to go out and to do anything with there. So want to go ahead and let you know, double red flag, beaches are closed. Okay, you take a look. Our next color, yellow, high surf or dangerous currents, potentially swim only near the lifeguard stand. So sometimes they fly the yellow flags. Okay, when the conditions are better, you have green flag. The danger threat is low. It's generally safe to swim. And those are those great beach days that we always pull for. But sometimes, again, you've got to be mindful. Yellow and red, obviously trouble. And double red, beaches are closed. There's our purple flag, dangerous marine life present. Could be sharks, could be jellyfish, could be other types of things. Now, we're throwing out a lot of colors and all of this information at you. When you go to the beaches, a lot of times you'll see the flag systems posted. So look for a sign like this and it breaks it all down for you and you can understand when those flags are flying at the lifeguard stands. Important to know that information when heading to the beach. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about winds on the open water and what's going on. Okay, a couple of things. You've got the wind blowing, and this is a pretty subtle graphic here, but I want to show you what we're looking at. See how the waves are smaller here? Okay, you've got the same wind blowing across the water. All right, it's determined by the wind, the strength of the wind, but also the fetch, or how long, how much of this open water that wind blows at the same speed in the same direction. If the winds are swirling around, you're not going to get that type of larger wave activity. But when there's just a little bit of water that wind's blowing over, the waves are smaller. You see just little waves here. As that wind persists over a longer area, over a much broader area, the winds are blowing, the waves get bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is when you get out to the open seas, how those waves are massive out there. So near shore, we tend to have smaller waves relative to the open waters. When the wind blows for a long period of time, those waves get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I wanted to share that relationship between the wind and the fetch. Now, when we talk about surfing, all right, Folks love to surf here on the East Coast and certainly down through the Southeast Florida. You think about the incredible surfing out in California, Hawaii. Some things to think about, okay? Onshore winds, when the winds are blowing from the water towards land, you tend to get what we call kind of, well, it's messy, quite honestly. It's disorganized. The waves kind of crash on top of themselves. We call it a washing machine. If you're out surfing, you say, oh, what's it like? That's like a washing machine. You know, you get all the water just, it's going all over. Hard to catch a wave. Occasionally, you'll get a set of waves coming in, or you'll get, you know, some larger surges, and you get something that you can deal with. But in general, you've got waves almost crashing on top of each other. So an onshore wind, when we've got a northeast wind, it's typically here in Virginia Beach, coastal Virginia, northeast North Carolina, we don't have a great surfing condition. But when we get an offshore wind, this is where it's really nice. And I just want to show you, this is an image you can see as the waves start to break, you get this spray. So this is a pretty stiff offshore wind with the waves, again, rolling over and that spray blowing out offshore. What this does is it cleans up those wave faces. So you've got a nice, gentle break there. It's a really pretty wave and just beautiful for surfing. So even in the winter, when we get those cold temperatures, you'll see surfers out there in wetsuits saying, hey, you know, conditions are too nice. We've got a nice southwesterly wind or a nice west wind in Virginia Beach. It cleans everything up, and folks are out there and really, really loving it. So that's the key, is having that nice offshore wind. Wanted to let you know about that. All right, so that's the relation winds and waves and rip currents. This one's a little bit shorter. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward lesson for you today. But again, a shout out to Peyton Domschke. She's been helping behind the scenes. You can reach Peyton right there. Also, Rochelle Peart in the house, and she's going to be working with me tomorrow, doing some work with, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the UV index. We've got some really good information on that and why we pay such close attention. Of course, you can always find me right here through social media as well. Hopefully everybody is taking it easy and staying safe through this time. Again, tomorrow, UV index. We'll talk about that as Beach Week continues. You guys stay safe and have a great day.